All right, here's another quick video just demonstrating some more techniques with prototyping. And this time we're going to look at a really interesting seamless page transition animation. This is one of those things though, if you're dealing with a front-end developer who's responsible for making this a reality in the browser and different devices, you definitely want to confer with them to see what technology stack they're using and essentially if they can actually pull this off in the front-end development portion. All right, so what we're going to do this time, we're going to use a phone frame. So we're going to come out here, change this to iPhone 13 Pro Max. Really, the size doesn't matter too much. We just want to get something, roughly in a phone perspective. And we're going to take our background, make this darker, and we're going to change our background here to the frame to something around a very light blue. All right, so the first thing we want to do is what we're going to design for is kind of like a testimonial section that features a single card. And then when somebody clicks on the actual card, it's going to kind of transition to a secondary frame where that person's photo is blown up larger. And we're just kind of expanding on and focusing on that specific card-based tutorial. So real quickly, just so we can get some context here, I'm going to put in a fake company name. I think we'll use Nunito for this one. So we'll make this bold and we'll also make this larger, maybe around, instead of 18, maybe we'll go to 22. All right, we'll get out a layout grid real quickly in column format. We'll just use 4 and then put 30 for the margins. And then once again, we'll go to Iconify. Nope, wrong plugin there. We'll go to Iconify and we'll choose menu. Perhaps we'll use this one. Drag it over into place. Right around there looks to be pretty good. Again, Shift R, make sure things are in proper alignment. Shift R again to get that off. Okay, so now we're going to create a card frame with a rectangle. And we'll make it white. At this point, we can hide the grid. And let's get a nice watermark in the background. Sometimes when you have like a header like this, for instance, words from clients. By the way, we want good visual hierarchy from these two, so we're going to make this one just a bit larger, maybe around 32. All right. We can have a watermark or a texture in the background. Now I'm going to create a video specifically on UI design and background textures a little bit later in the course, but one such way to do that is through a typographic based watermark, as it's called. So we can replicate that and maybe we'll just put in testimonials. We can also mix and match fonts here, like maybe a serif font, so Playfair Display SC. And what we could do is we can grab the background color and just come up a very small shade. Right now I'm using D4E1ED, but you also want to make this larger and make sure it's sitting behind the foreground text. So what we'll do is just bump this up quite a bit and put it underneath. We'll put it at the very bottom and make this even larger. And you don't want it to wrap here, so I will click that button here. And just kind of position it intelligently. Again, we could probably play around with the colors here. Maybe something right around there, which is CDDAE7, if you want to follow along. And that just gives you nice texture. It makes it look interesting, essentially. All right, so inside of here, we're just going to have a simple card where we have, it's going to look like an ellipse at first, but it's because we want it to expand out and we want it to kind of consume a rectangular portion. What we're going to do is we're going to use a actual rectangle, make sure it is square, so hold Shift and Alt while you're dragging this out. And we're going to change the border radius to something really high, like to 100, and that way it looks like a perfect circle. And you're going to see how this actually ends up working well, transitioning from a circle to a rectangle with the help of Smart Animate once we get to that section. So we can go to plugins here, we can go to Unsplash, and we're just going to type in person. And we're going to get maybe this person right here. Just click on it, there we go. And then we're going to have some type. So we can just duplicate this. We're going to scale this down to around 16. Also regular for the font weight. We're going to drag this out. By the way, here's a good tip. How do you know if you have equal white space in here versus here? Well, we can take this container and we can actually end up adding a grid to it if we go ahead and right click and frame the selection. And we could choose layout grid right here so that it has a grid itself essentially. So columns, we can do maybe something for like this, just 4, and then maybe 50. That's a little bit too much, so maybe we'll do 30 here. That looks pretty good for the white space all around. We'll move this right here and here. And we're going to center everything as well. So we'll click that option. And maybe right around here, we're going to right click, and I'm going to use the Lorem Ipsum plugin. If you don't have that yet, make sure to just go to Browse Plugins and then search for it and then install it. And I'm just going to click Auto Generate here. And let's move this up roughly. We can also toggle this off, the visibility, increase the line height a bit, and maybe instead of having 100% black, we can go ahead and change this to, we'll get the color first, the main colors from the color scheme, and then come down here just to kind of like tone it a little bit. I think I want more white space around the card, just a little bit more. So again, we can come over here, adjust this perhaps to 46, and then make sure that this is lined up evenly. There we go. And maybe we'll have a little bit less type. All right, and then toggle that off. We're just about done. And then we're going to duplicate that, and then for the person's name, we're going to put Jane Doe. I'm going to put 2 dashes. If I put a dash and then a space, it's going to convert it into a bullet point. I don't want that, so I'm just going to put 2 dashes and get rid of that one. Actually, 2 dashes and get rid of this. They make it very tricky sometimes to figure this out. There we go. That's what I want it to look like for now. Of course, you could design your own dash with the line tool if you wish. We're going to drag this out. And then, of course, we want good typographic visual hierarchy between these two, so we can make this simply bold. And there we go. Okay. So now at this point, what we can do is we can replicate this artboard. I'm going to give it a fair amount of well, actually, we can get it closer. And so now what we're going to do is make some changes to this. For instance, we can fade out both of these to 0% at opacity. We can take this and really scale it up, holding Shift and Alt, maybe moving it up here, pushing this out, and then we can move this beneath this element, this frame right here. So I will come down right around here. This type can be pushed up. This can be brought back down. We can expand on this and even add more Lorem Ipsum text. So we'll hit auto generate. Maybe we'll have a paragraph in here, and we will delete some of the stuff underneath. Okay, and then also we'll have a left icon. So we'll just drag this over here. And we'll make it white so we can see it. And that's the way it gives us a way to go back. Maybe right around there would be pretty decent. All right. And there we go. So we can see how this is, the effect is very cool. So what we can do is we can switch to prototype. When somebody clicks on this, it's going to smart animate. And we'll leave it at 300 milliseconds. Ease in and out. Again, if we want that dramatic effect, which I really like, we can pull this out and in. And then when somebody clicks this, we'll simply reverse that. This is Smart Animate. Everything's looking good. And let's give it a shot. So let's hit play. All right, here we go. Now, it might be a little bit too fast for our liking, so maybe we can increase this here, especially given the type of easing we have. We can definitely stand to make it longer. Maybe we'll try 800 milliseconds. And again, we'll want to apply that same adjustment here as well. All right. Much better, in my opinion. All right, and so you can also make other slight adjustments. Like we can take all of this, maybe move it down a little bit so that we have a little bit more animation applied. So, oh, if we do that, we want to move this down as well. So we'll get back to our design tab here. Just hold shift and put it right around there. And also, if you do not know what type of images will be displayed here, like there might be light images, you want to make sure you account for that in the design itself to ensure good contrast based on this icon right here. So let's click that. Oops, let's hit R. Looks like we lost that connection perhaps when we were switching back, so prototype should be going over here. Let's do that. 800. All right, so now it should be working again. So click on this. We're having a difficult time right now. It is not wanting to work. Oh, for some reason it says on drag. So this needs to be on tap. So sometimes I'm going to leave this in the video because sometimes issues like this happen and you're not sure why they're not working correctly. So you kind of have to go over all of a certain, like a way to debug situation. So first of all, this right here, this icon is in a frame and it's inside of our frame right here, which we want. If it weren't inside the frame, for instance, you wouldn't be able to drag the prototype, although it is a frame itself. So next up, the reason it's not working, we look under interactions, it says drag first. So we have to change this up, drag this here. Now notice it says that, so we can change this to on tap, navigate to Smart Animate. There we go. Sometimes it could be tricky. And there we go. So that's how you create a nice sort of seamless page transition animation.